So I'm going to wait for people to get on. Welcome. This live is going to be based on the video I just actually created. You can check it out. It's about competition and capitalism, the way it has been sold to us, the 99%. You're going to see this image of this Native American woman with a man in the background in a suit. The suit represents what we call civilization. The civilization that came to encroach its ideas over culture. Culture and civilization are not the same. A civilization that is not intertwined with culture is worthless. It does not bring progress, it brings avarice, greed, cruelty. Culture is a raison d'être, a reason to live, a reason to create. Culture is created by philosophers, poets, artists, dancers, spoken word, singers, musicians, shall I go on, instrument creators, gardeners, landscapers, people who understand the concept of space and portals. I could go on, but you get the picture. And civilization did not bring culture. Culture was sunk beneath the booted foot of civilization. And when we start understanding these concepts, right? And again, we're talking about my point of view. And I'm not the law of all truths, nor am I infallible. But I'm hoping that one of you guys taking classes, deep classes at university level on philosophy should ask this question to your professor. Because I would have loved to sit across Plato or Socrates. Probably Socrates would have been my best because he actually repudiated civilization and greed and capitalistic systems. The level of brainwashing that I spoke to in a live a couple days ago, there was too much activity in the background. I decided not to release that video, though I'll put it up for private. And maybe one day I'll release it. But I wanted to kind of reframe what we've been going through as a people throughout the 2,000 years of Abrahamic savagery, Abrahamic religions. As I was saying before, there's a fascist branch of Muslim, Christian, Jewish. We've seen it in action. And there's a benign, progressive branches of that Abrahamic tree of Christian, Muslim, and Jewish devotees, and other religions, of course. And the fascism cannot be bundled up to represent any one religion. But let me go back to culture, because I really want to talk about culture. And so the culture of the Native Americans, which are the closest thing to the ideal of 5D lifestyle. Now, remember, we've been told by colonials that they came to tame the savages. And yet these supposed unlearned human beings had more heart, more love, more connection with Pachamama, Bhumi, Gaia, Mother Earth, and to the sky, Father Sky, Grandmother Moon, Father Sun, the Great Spirit. The respect for everything that was feathered, finned, or scaled. Or furred, I should have said. They revered the bison and the wolf and the hawk and the salmon. They understood the balance of the beautiful symmetry of the planet as it breathed life, as it went through the 4 seasons and revealed her magic. And we have examples of that through Greek mythology with Persephone, for example, through Bacchus, Dionysus, for example, in terms of which kind of replicates how we have Yeshua on the cross, and then he comes back 3 days later. It's almost like winter and spring and the explosion of spring. The concept of not owning possessions, which was very Native American. And so when you think about 5D, think about them as a template 1,000 years ago, right? Way before Columbus ever landed, lost, and racist that he was, finding nothing, like literally stumbling onto the land to create chaos and a geno. Before him, before he wrote his story, there were cultures of people on this country into Canada who lived in peace. And I will never buy the idea that there were warring tribes until they brought Christianity. I'll never buy it, because I'll never trust the history written by the perpetrators, by the predators, by the avarice of these men. And so there was a reverence. Shamans were women and men. And so when you despair at the 3 debacle that you live in, remember this. 1,000, 2,000 years ago, these people lived in peace. And no one owned land. In fact, it was something they could not fathom. In fact, one of the great chiefs said, the white man just needs to own everything. Oh, by the way, we have a trillionaire now. We have a trillionaire, while people like you and me will walk out the grocery store and go back in to buy a sandwich for a homeless person. And you and I both know that if you and I had, I don't know, $10 million, we'd probably, sequester $5 million to buy land, to build tiny homes, which, by the way, some people are actually doing with their wealth. It's a small level of wealth. Why is it small? Well, because they've got $20 million. They're worth 20 and they're taking 10 to do it. Billie Eilish just took $11 million and wrote a check. She's worth, between whoever reports it, 30 to 50, whatever. The point is, she took a big chunk. And yet we have billionaires, and I'm talking about in the 100 billions, and trillionaires, and I'm talking the kind of wealth you can't even fucking figure, who are men, when you figure what's going on with our men, why are they so depressed? Why do they feel so worthless? Have you ever seen the movie 300 about the Spartans who knowingly are going into an impossible situation against Cyrus the Great? I believe it was Cyrus the Great. Did they have billions of dollars? Why am I saying that? Because you see, we still have men that walk the planet like those men, those Spartan men that came in. Do you remember the line she said to her king? Come to me back with your shield or on it. There was an equality in the feminine sex to the masculine that was beautiful, and it was a template fractured by the last beautiful couple, Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. And it was done by design, by the Abrahamic system. There was a reason, because a template was being built to take us all the way down into 3D, to our knees. And so I would say that we're like Cinderellas. We've been on our knees washing the floors for the great man and the great women. And now suddenly we know our worth. But here's what we have to do as women. That was very similar to how we used to speak to our men going into impossible battles. We have to tell our men that your worth is not your bank account. Your worth is not being depressed. Your worth comes into harnessing the power of your mind, hacking out of your monkey brain, and creating the new world from the place of great shamanism. Your power is not to hoard $1 billion. Your power is to harness the storm of change into 5D. And as long as a man, you are castrated by the 1%, you are worthless to yourself and to the collective. You are worthless to your woman and your children. Your worth was never your checkbook. Your worth was never what you could buy me. Your worth was never a private plane or a yacht and a helicopter pad and bodyguards and Cartier rings. Your worth was your mind, your emotions, your ability to harness the storm of change, to make what we've all begged for and we have been promised into the new earth. And you women need to start typing that shit down on a text so he can read it 20 fucking times a day. Because what's happening is that the divide and conquer is getting more finite, more, I'd say, I have to actually applaud these motherfuckers because they're good. They're fucking good. They know how to split hairs so that we all look at each other with side eyes. But the tides have changed because the consciousness is like a tsunami wave the 1% cannot fucking control. And it is not done with violence, my friends, because that is a losing cause. Let me explain. We had the French Revolution is an incredible example. I need you to go buy the book, The Anatomy of a Revolution. Read the fucking book. The Anatomy of a Revolution. It fails. The French Revolution took the monarchy and brought an emperor, Emperor Napoleon. It doesn't fucking work. But consciousness, and they know this, they've studied this through the alphabet channel of these governments. They have studied psychic energy, remote viewing, and so on. I'm not going to list it all. And they know that to fuck the consciousness of the masculine is the most important step to castrate their powers, individually, collectively. And what is that? How do you do that? Well, by putting these motherfucking Mark Zuckerbergs and the Peter Thiels and the Sam Altman on a pedestal. Men married to men. Which, by the way, on the side note, some of the great warriors were married to men. But that's another show. Because now we're talking about something about the root chakra being corrupted. I have been an advocate of gay marriages since I understood it at 14. But I'm not here to prove myself. I'm going to tell you something that's very insidious. These men, if you put them in a fighting ring, would be pissing their pants. And the men who are making 50,000, 80,000, whatever the fuck you're making, 20,000 a year, right? You guys who are powerful in the mind, powerful in the body, powerful in what you read, what you actually digest. In your loneliness of trying to find your manhood and comparing you to pussies. Oh, I shouldn't even say pussies because actually pussies have power. So no, pussy power is too powerful. What would I call these little neophytes, these little losers? They have a series of numbers, lots of zeros, controlled by the World Wide Web. And if that crashed today, they'd be worth nothing. It's really that simple. It's actually that simple. And so the way you compare yourself to a billionaire, trillionaire who won't lift a finger, who knowingly knows that people are starving right now in America, all over the world, and that they're being assaulted, essayed, and that they're celebrated in a little country, a little strip land that's caused so much harm to so many, Zios, making people fucking miserable. For no reason. No reason, no real reason. There's no real reason. Is something that I want the masculine to understand. Your worth was never your bank account. Your worth is the fact that if the shit went down and all went dark, a billionaire would be shitting his pants in the middle of the woods. Because you see, having a private chef, getting trained by your personal trainer to have that body, and all of the little things that they play does not make you a fucking warrior. It does not make you a shaman. It does not make you a powerful man. It makes you a weak man because you don't have the self-discipline to do it on your fucking own. You need handlers, assistants, massage therapists, and other modalities of healing, which you don't have. When you hit the gym and hit those weights, you're doing it on your own. When you eat clean, you're doing it on your own. When you're sprinting up those hills, you're doing it on your own. When you're cooking your meals, you're doing it on your own. No one is handing you anything. And that 50 grand you're making, is something that should not corrupt your self-worth. And if a bitch, an Instagram bimbo, is going to basically laugh at you because your paycheck is not in the zeros, she's not a woman worth your intention in any way. I wouldn't fucking talk to a bimbo like that myself. I wouldn't take that as a client. I wouldn't want her as a friend. Do you understand? Your worth is not in the acceptance of who you are because of what you have, what you own, or what you don't own. Some of the greatest men I've ever met own nothing but a knapsack. They own 2 pairs of jeans, a pair of jogging pants, 3 t-shirts, a shirt, and a sweater. And they were the most brilliant men I've ever met. And I've met the dumbest men, the dumbest in a Ferrari, in a Gullwing, in a Rolls Royce. Dumb, 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 dumb. There's a saying, and it's a saying really for dumb men. Men fall in love with their eyes. Women fall in love with their ears. And powerful men fall in love with their ears. They listen to a woman speak, and they fall in love with her mind. And her beauty is icing on the cake. But it is not her entire self that he's not going to just go for a bimbo. And men's corrupt chakras were hijacked when Playboy was first printed. Marilyn Monroe was on the cover. I believe I'm correct. And suddenly, men, and again, we're talking about porno here. Oh yeah, porn. Were corrupted. It was a full frontal attack on the masculine chakras. It is bad for you. There is a divine masculine. I don't know enough about him to say he's the GOAT, but I will say this. Lenny Kravitz is an absolutely gorgeous specimen of a man, and he's been celibate for going on 11 years. He's rich. He can get all the pussy he wants. Why do you think he stopped? Why do you think he's going within? Why do you think he takes pleasure in having friends and eating vegetarian food and whatever the hell he does? I don't know. And again, I'm not going to put it, but from surface, on paper, that's not bad as a template for yourself. You, as a man, is going to have to deconstruct what happened to the wiring of your brain from porn. Because it's fucking you up. Because you are looking and liking pictures of girls on Instagram and you're making fucking OnlyFans so rich. Many of them are making something like, some of them are clocking 300,000. One fucking bitch who turned 18 on the clock made $1 million in less than 1 hour. Men are dumb, who allow the corruptness of this template that continue ravaging their very self-interest and their self-love. There is none. Why do you think there was such a high level of self-harm in 2023? Through addiction, through an oops, and through a decision, I'm out of here. Because you can't do that kind of assault on your consciousness, on your sexuality, and walk away empty. Trust me, you're going to walk away empty because it's an image. She'll never say your name. She'll never say she loves you. You will never feel her touch. You will never feel her breast, her lips on your neck. You will never hear her say your name. She will never love you, and anyone can have her for a price. Why would you go and waste your energy on that kind of fucking deviant, and I'm going to call it that, obsession? Why? I had a client when I worked on Psychic Source. I'm going to tell you a story. He was an old man. He was 70. And he had come across a Colombian chick. And they would do FaceTime and do naughty things on FaceTime. And he kept saying her money and money and money and money and money. He kept wanting to, this went on for a year. And he asked me, is this real? I went, no, it's actually not real. It's not real. You're being played. She's showing you and flashing you her body on a screen. It's not real. You're in another country. She's safely getting those deposits. You're being hustled. And what his response was, well, I like younger women. Then fucking get that shit healed. Because I know that there are men out there, and I'm a woman that really loves people my age or maybe older. But when I see a young man walking by who's gorgeous, I see my son. I don't see a sexual partner. So if you are sexualizing women who are 3 times younger than you, 3 decades younger than you or more, check your ass. Because that was a corruption that was inserted into you, unbeknownst to you, as everyone congratulated you as a man, that this was normal by other toxic men. Your root chakra needs to belong to you. And your root chakra should be given to people who are deserving. Women, men, whatever the fuck you're into. I don't care if you're bisexual. I don't give a fuck. As long as you honor yourself. And when you play into these porn games, and you see your worth through how much money you have in your bank account, you no longer belong to you. You're basically a slave, and they're remotely abusing you. Remotely. Dean Winters has a man who asked why it was not okay to harm a child. Many of you saw that. Dean Winters is dumb, not because of his age, because he had an opportunity to ask the right questions, but he was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. He was a weak man. He's a weak man. He's a very weak man. I hate using the word man on him. But this man literally was asking the question. And the first thought to me, and by the way, any 25-year-old with half a brain, any 19-year-old with half a brain would have asked the following question. Who did that to you? Who was your predator that did that to you first, so that you have to ask the questions? And the predator who convinced you that this was fucking okay to do that to children. Who was he? Was it your father, your uncle, your neighbor, your teacher, your preacher? Who? But no, Dean sat there, and this is when sometimes people who are young have no wisdom, and sometimes people who are fucking 5-year-old has the wisdom of 1,000 shamans. It's not about age, it's about brains. And this man, Dean Winters, whatever the fuck his name is, said nothing really of any value. I actually scrolled. I was like, I can't listen. This guy's such a fucking idiot. He just has been given a fucking opportunity to ask the right questions, and he's just, I'm in shock. I'm in shock. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, what would fucking turn someone like that to be that lost, that fucked up? The wiring on their brain started when they were children, and someone did it to them, brainwashed them to ask that question with complete frankness. And that kind of evil is frightening, because that kind of evil is cold, ignorant, and unaware that it's evil. You understand? So we need to start fucking looking up at people who have brains, who can think on their feet. And I mean, think on their feet, or else why follow them? Why? This is why many of us like Mandani, Zoran Mandani, the next mayor of New York City. God bless him and his wife. He thinks on his feet, and he doesn't hold fucking back. He would have had that caller on the fucking floor, but with compassion, I would have ripped him a new asshole. But that's me. But I would have asked the question, who did that to you first? Who did it? And how old were you? Not, oh my God, oh my God, oh, I can't believe you're asking that. I can't believe, you fucking loser, Dean. You're a fucking loser. You're constantly playing your little bitch games. You're a bitch. But let me say this. The masculine conversation that is being had by women like me is pathetic. You know why? Because I shouldn't be having this conversation. I should be listening to men like Eyes In, Isa, on Instagram. He's the only man right now that I would highly recommend to all you fucking men to go on his fucking channel on Instagram. Eyes_in. Listen to a real man who's talked about his weird need to be loved by women, his weird need, performance need to get the accolades of women. That's honest shit. And his beloved wife, mother of his son, called him out. And he talked about it. That's the kind of man I want to listen to. That's the kind of man who, if he had a retreat, I'd say, let me figure out how to get the money for my son and me. Let's go. And why my son? Because I want him to look up and be a template to that. My son can do whatever he wants, of course. But I'd want every young man to go sit at this man's feet and listen. Because the template has been fractured, and what you men think, is locker room talk and whatever the fuck you think has harmed you. It's harmed your mother. It's harmed your father. And it will not continue harming the next generation forthcoming. So culture. Normalizing assault, normalizing deviancy, normalizing and like George Carlin would say, younger people, what do they call it? People who are fond of younger people. That's woke. That's not woke. That's fucked. The development and the honoring of certain cultures are very important. But there are some cultures that have developed in the last 1,500 years, and I'm sure you'll agree, that became misogynistic, harmful, destructive, racist, in the name of God. And you know those cultures. And those cultures are not our original self. Do you understand? I just said 1,500 years. Abrahamic religions have been around for, I'm going to throw it out, 3,000 at most. What was before that? What was before that when God was a woman? What was before that when women were revered as equal and integral and important, rather than the current culture we're working into, where men are looking forward to the robots looking as close to the feminine sex as possible? Real flesh, real ass, you know what I mean? And she's submissive. Men, weak men, fucked up men can't wait to buy their robot dollies. That's not a real man. That's a dangerous, weak man. And dangerous, weak men can be actually more dangerous than an alpha male. An alpha male, you can actually, you have the opportunity to talk to an alpha male if he's got brains, if he reads books, if he's studied some levels of philosophy, if he has some interest in various religions, and actually genuinely likes women. An alpha male is what you're better off with that than some geek, than some weird crackpot geek who would cry on the second day in the woods. Lost. He wouldn't know what to do. And the irony of ironies is many of you who are real men, and you know who you are. You know who you are. Go look in the mirror. Go look in your mirror right now. Right now. Take the phone. Go look in the mirror. Ask yourself, am I a real man, or am I becoming the kind of man I want to be? And what is a real man? It's a man whose root chakra is all his. He's sovereign to his root chakra. That means that you have the fucking ability to exercise control. That you revere sexuality as something close to a sacrament. That you study Tantra. That you respect women. And if you don't, you go fucking fix that shit. Just like women who hate men, misandry, go fix yourself, bitch. Go fix yourself. Just like, go fix yourself, my little bastard. If you hate women, you hate your mommy, go fix that shit. Because you can fucking kumbaya and chant mantras and, do your little cross-legged meditations. And if you don't like women or men, you're broken. You are broken. And the cultures of the ancient indigenous people of Ireland, of Gaul, the British Isles, of parts of Africa, of the Americas, South America, Peru, Brazil, and so on. and Asia, right? India. They all revered women. So what happened? There was a time when every single one, 4, 5, 6,000 years ago, revered the goddess. What fucking happened? On the steppes of Russia, they found Amazons buried, completely, damn near intact. Plato had talked about Amazons with tattoos that went down their arm, these gorgeous tattoos buried with their pelts and their weapons. Imagine watching them on horseback 3,000, 4,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, whenever that was. There were Amazons. It's not a fucking myth. It actually happened. And we know that deep inside our souls. We know that most of the history we've been told have been completely lied to us, lied so that we would bend the knee, so that they could wipe their feet on us. This is why we've actually taken the sacred blood of Jesus, Yeshua, and given it to the Norman kings through Holy Blood, Holy Grail. The bastardization of such a lineage, to hand it to Norman kings, to basically then anoint them so they would be anointed, and then in the same breath, literally in the 12th and 13th century, slaughtering Cathars and Knights Templars, but saying, I'm anointed, I have the blood of Christ, it's in my DNA. I mean, before they knew the word DNA, it's in my blood. I am of that royal blood. Just using whatever they could to make sure the serfs would bow their heads to the yoke of oppression. Now, if you don't think that is still running through your samskars, through the impressions of your incarnations, if you actually feel that you've overcome that and that you've had, say, 1,000 incarnations on planet Earth, and you think that this does not still affect you, you're dead wrong. And so why do men get addicted to bullshit? Because they need the nectar of forgetfulness. They need to black out. They need to literally forget they're here, even if it lasts an hour. So women, you better make a decision. You better tell that to your sons, your brothers, your uncles, your fathers, your beloveds. Your worth to me was never money. And say it. You gave me love, loyalty. Whenever you prayed for me or meditated for me, whenever you held me in your arms, whenever we played and read together, whenever we jogged up a hill together, whatever the fuck your memory is, tell them that this was worth more than $1 billion, and say it exactly like that, because it will unlock something in their fucking subconscious that their worth is based and their success is based on some fucking number in a bank account. And they need to be literally hacked out of that mindset and to put it, don't say, I love you because, say, you are worth more than $3 billion. Here's why. And because of that, what you have given me is worth more than dollars, than trillions of dollars. And your worth is infinite. You better say something like that, because I'm feeling, because I did it for my son, and he texted me back saying, I really needed to hear that. Didn't occur to me. I knew it was a good thing to do, but I didn't think it was that important. And apparently it was very, very, very fucking important. So say it like I said it. Use the word dollars and then destroy it with what is really important. Because I don't know what's going on with these men on a deeper level. I'm sure there's many depth. I don't have what they have between their thighs. I don't understand the hormonal fucking fuckery that can happen to them and happens to them. I don't fully remember when I was a man on that level and that scale, but I can tell you this. They need to know that they are the most important human being on the planet for you. One of 5, or or maybe they're the most important. So I's in Issa, I believe, ISSA, I believe that's his name, if I got it correct, on Instagram. Please follow him. He's fucking the masculine. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. Fucking GOAT. He is a man deconstructing his own fucked up beginnings, his playboy, his player. When I first followed him back in 2000, I think it was 2018, I thought he's polyamorous, but at least he's fucking honest, right? That was my feeling. And and I was right. I mean, I don't know if he was polyamorous, but I know he was a player. He was definitely a player. And after playing and hurting people, and he admits to that, which is important, he met her, his counterpart. And it all was done. I'm going to give you another template that was very important when I was a kid. It was David Bowie, and he was going through bisexuality, transgenderism, meaning dressing up in this, that, and the other. And he was exploring himself, right? And when he went through his period, which was in 1983, he went through his Thin White Duke period. And those of you who were in the 80s remember. And he was so beautiful, all in his cream suits. And he went through his Thin White Duke, got his shit together as a masculine, decided, I'm straight, right? He had men, had women. Who gives a fuck? He did everything. He fucked everything. It was all in front of him, right? Had fun, was addicted to the horse, and so on and so forth. And somehow crawled out of that fucking debacle, found himself, reset himself, read a lot of books, went from Aleister Crowley to all kinds of other crazy shit, and came to his center. And boom, he met Iman, a woman of, I believe she's Somali descent, that if you ever saw her when she was in her 30s, she looked like something like you were like, there's no way a woman exists that looks like that. It's impossible. So anyway, he met her, fell in love, courted her in the classic way a man courts a woman, and they married. And she still, though he's dead, she still says, I'm not a widow, I'm married to my husband. Devoted to him, and she will be devoted to him probably, I'm going to assume, until her own death, when they meet. But the journey of a man going through that, there's no shame in it. That's why I'm telling you about it. You can actually go through all the shit of addiction, of fucking, sexual exploration, and so on. I can't say too much here, but you get the picture. You're a grown-ass fucking man, woman. And then he got it. From reading, my friend. Read Audible books. Read. Listen to the books I tell you to read. And fucking buy them. Buy them on eBay. I have books I buy for $4. And like one book I just bought, I kid you not, $4.41. I kid you not. Possessing the Secret of Joy by Alex Walker. Free shipping. eBay and thrift books is a fountain of knowledge, of cheap ass book. Don't buy books from Amazon. Don't make that motherfucker rich anymore. Go to eBay and buy from mom and pop stores, okay, where you can buy literally 4 books for $20 that will fucking change your brain chemistry. Read, listen to books, brainwash yourself out of the brainwashing. Learn Tantra. Learn to self-Tantra yourself. And learn what that means. Do you understand? But the system is corrupted to fuck you and fuck you and fuck you again. And that's quite obvious. You gotta be an idiot not to see it. Though we have a lot of them running around going, oh no, everything's fine. The sky is not falling. The sky isn't falling. But the template is. The 3D template cannot sustain itself, thank God. And part of it is the awakening. So if more of you men, like literally, light up, my friend, enjoy. But then think, then put on something else. Stop the football games. Bread and circus bullshit. Okay, stop the bread and circus. Listen to a book. Smoke your cigar. Smoke whatever the fuck you want. And listen to knowledge for 2 hours. Commit. When you're driving to work, listen to that. Listen to it while you're eating your sandwich on a break. Listen to it when you're taking a walk on your second break. Listen to it on your way home. Listen to it while you're doing dinner. Listen to it. Do you understand? You have to be a savage to literally tear down the brainwashing that has corrupted you so you can't even fucking retain a healthy relationship with a healthy woman. That's what's happening. Many men who are, and I saw them, one of them took his own life because people were like, oh, it's going to get better, man. It's going to get better. Like, you can do this. And he was basically a gorgeous man. I think he was 32, 33, and called it a day. Over 6'2", gorgeous, built like a brick shit house, lifting weights, the whole bit, and still fucking said goodnight. When somebody fucking looks like they're falling apart, don't tell them to fucking pull themselves by the bootstrap. Ask them if they need to talk. Don't tell them it's going to be okay, because it's not going to be okay for them. Our men are more fragile than you can ever imagine. There are women who have admitted, this is a study, that the reason why they get out of bed is because they have kids. Sylvia Plath didn't make it. But many of you women have. And your children are keeping you going. And if you didn't have children, you don't know what you have no idea where you'd be. The men who don't have children or don't have children under their full custody have nothing. The loneliness, the nights are the worst. And I would fill my nights with the voices of knowledge. Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Super Brain, Super Genes, those two books, Rudy Tanzi, The Untethered Soul. I'd read that one again and again. The Surrender Experiment, Becoming Supernatural. There's so many books, my God. And if you have been raised in a Christian template or a Muslim template or a Jewish template that feels constraining, then go to the very beginnings of those religions. Go back to the root of those religions when they were probably at a purest level, or maybe not. There are a lot of people that have converted to other religions because some people actually do need a religion. I've seen people who are Jewish convert to Catholicism, and Catholics convert to Judaism. So but if you really find your center, your relationship with God, in my opinion, and I will humbly say that, humbly, your religion with your religion with God, your relationship with God will not need a religion. You will not need a cross. You will not need anything. You will need God. And God speaks through your meditation. As I've said often enough, praying is talking to God. Meditation is listening. Those are two different actions. You don't merge those actions. You pray or you meditate, but you don't do both. To be a masculine is so harrowing for some men that a woman, and I know you heard the story, a woman actually did a social experiment where she posed as a man. I think she did it for 1 year. I wish I remembered her name, but she said that it was so horrific the way fucking women treated her as a man that afterwards she took some time and then decided to call it a night. She left this planet, if you get my drift. Because she could not understand the vile cruelty of women towards men. And yet, with the same kind of story, I'm going to give you another story of and you've seen the video, I'm sure, of a dark-haired, curly-haired, very pretty girl in a black t-shirt, crew neck, which means it's up to her neck, with black baggy jeans, walking through New York City, the 5 boroughs, 10 hours, being catcalled, insulted, followed, for 10 hours. So what are we supposed to do with this information of mass contrast? We have to recognize that some people cannot be healed, and some people are just sick, and some people are just so fucked up. But for the many of you who are silent in the locker room, who are silent in situations, who tolerate your friends because, they're good friends for beers, they're good friends to watch the football game, they're good friends to play poker, but they're pigs. You might want to let them go, because their influence will lower your frequency. Similarly to women friends. I've had women friends who are party girls, wild girls, grab a guy for the night. I had to put some distance between me and those women, not because I'm judging them. You can fuck whoever you want. I don't give a shit. But you're not going to lower my frequency by hanging out with you. I can't offer you my friendship. I'm sorry. Have a good life, though. You're a really good person. You're absolutely gorgeous. Have fun. No hate. No mean girl bullshit. Just bye. Who we hang out with determines who we are to become. And men have a less chance than women. We're very blessed. But men do not have dark holidays. They don't have the kind of man who says, go get that girl. Remember that scene in Tombstone? Go get that girl. Go get her. Go grab her. Start a life with that woman. Hence why the term became, get yourself a dark holiday. Get yourself a good friend. And men, you need good friends. You need one good brother who's going to admit his own trauma so you can admit yours. And together you can cry like men, like brothers, and hug each other and not be afraid of anything else. Where you support each other, where you share books, links on videos that you've seen on YouTube that really blew your mind and changed your brain chemistry about your worth, about your spiritual truth, about past lives that you might have downloaded, and you're telling your brother, and your brother from another mother applauds you. We have friends like that as women. Men rarely do. Hence the issue. I've heard military men call each other brothers, but that's war. And how is that a spiritual evolution? That's, I have your back. I will drag you out of a battlefield. I will throw you over my shoulder. It is beautiful. It is valid. But then what happens when you find out that your whole platoon lost their lives? What conversation does your brother give you? Are you talking about reincarnation? Are you talking about the souls traveling? Are you doing a ceremony to make sure your brothers can find their way home? Are we talking about the guilt, the karmic bond of taking people's lives so you could see another sun rise? How deep do you people go in your conversations? We women do. Therein lies the chasm. And so women who are high priestesses have a culture that is scattered, but it's rich in tradition of supporting these incredible esoteric conversation, and men are walking in arid lands. Not enough of you have a dark holiday. Not enough of you have good brothers who really support you, who really get you, who will show up at 3 o'clock in the morning at your house because they know you're an alcoholic and you haven't picked up the phone in 2 fucking days, and they just show up at your door going, hey man, let's get some coffee, let's go on a walk, let's talk. We women do it. And that's what you need to demand from your relationships with your male friends or male friend. That's what true brotherhood looks like. That's why some men actually only have female friends. Because only with their female friends can they talk and cry and not be judged. Because we women know how to hold sacred space. Do you see now why you need to have your best friend be your lover? Because for some strange reason, you can't have those conversations. So either you build those conversations one day at a time, one brother at a time, by creating content that goes deep in the weeds of your shadows, or learn from women. Fuck, we pushed you out into the world between our legs. So I think we know how to create life and healing. Not all of us. Some of us are toxic as fuck. But those of us who are walking through the shadows and the light, we know how to heal ourselves and others. You might want to talk to us. You might want to ask what we think you should do. But being afraid of falling in love is because you don't trust yourself. And why should you? Why should you trust yourself when everything around your root chakra is corrupted and it actually is creating chaos in your heart chakra to the point where your third eye is fucking worthless? And so, as women, we are here to open sacred space for you. Don't take advantage of it. And if I were you, my sweet brother, I would actually read Joseph Campbell's The Hero of 1,000 Faces. I would learn archetypal understandings of the various masculine psyche. Because in this incarnation, you are controlled by your hormones. Do you understand? Your brain chemistry is controlled by your hormones. Just like the feminine's brain chemistry is controlled by her hormones. And yet, we are multidimensional souls who are androgynous at our very core. Do we have preferences when we leave these bodies and when we appear to ourselves? Yes, some of us prefer the feminine, some of us prefer the androgynous, and some of us prefer to take on a masculine light. But in these bodies that control us more than we control it, through our various levels of addictions, we have become enemies through a system of corruption meant to control us for at least 3,000 years. There were religions in the past that we have long forgotten, that some scholars still whisper. Your job is to hack out of the matrix. And it's funny because I didn't know this, but the matrix in Latin is the word for womb, W-O-M-B. So the matrix, the term, isn't it interesting? Hacking out from the womb isn't really, in my opinion, appropriate. I would say more that it's hacking out of a holographic system, a round room of mirrors where we don't know what is real and what is fake. And in the ancient ways of the ancient shamans around the world, they would find caves, aka the womb, to find themselves through darkness, days in the deepest bowels of caves, in the oceans, in the mountains, and they would retreat into those caves, and it was almost like a ceremony, a ritual of self-discovery. And a cave, to me, is a womb, to be rebirthed, to be reset, to be transformed. Really what we are in, again to repeat, is a round room surrounding us with mirrors, which reminds me of the scene of Bruce Lee, if you've ever seen the movie, I think it was called Enter the Dragon, when he's in the Hall of Mirrors. Remember? And Bruce Lee is a good template for you, my fine young brothers. Bruce Lee, Yeshua, aka Jesus Christ, is a good template. Buddha is a good template. He left his wife and son to become self-realized, because he said to himself, she can't come into the world I'm going into. I'm going into poverty, starvation. I'm going to be in the wind, in the rain, in the snow. She can't come with me. She's been raised and bred to be in luxury, in the palace. I will leave them behind. And the work I do will help my son and his generation. And so I will leave them. And I will become self-realized, and I will become the Buddha. When I think about religion and how it has been written by misogynistic men, presented and supported by women who hated women, and yet through that narrow passageway were people who were so pure, both men and women who were so pure, that dared to want to seek the truth and speak the truth, who were harmed, violently harmed. I think of their suffering. And I think of our suffering in trying to remember ourselves. And I'm going to say to you that the only good thing about Akashic readings and hypnosis and things is that you can't play small anymore, because the soul will show you your power, and at that point it's game over. You can't play like you're a fucker. You can't play like you're a loser. You can't. And yet some still do. And that's a massive self-loathing that will take a lifetime, and then probably another one in 3D. But if you're serious about 5D, if you feel like, you're done here, you're done with 3D incarnations, and I've given you the recipe to get the fuck out of the system. The rest will come. The teachers will come to you in the form of a book, a sentence, a clip, a photograph, a painting, a song. You will feel the shift. You will be triggered. You will sweep in awe of this awakening that came out of nowhere. You'll wake up like at 6 a.m. in the morning or whenever with an answer that you've been waiting for. And there it came. As soon as you sat up, you saw the answer. It's spoken to you through a voice or a mellifluous, a choir of voices, whatever, but you have the answer. And that's what happens when you are on the path of self-realization. The universe is conspiring to wake you up. Every step, every breath, every sleep, every transformation, every awakening. It wants you to wake up. Wake up, sleepy soul. Wake up, wake up. It doesn't matter if you hate yourself. If you are fed up of being in 3D, even if you hate yourself, this is your medicine. This is the way. And if you come across women who I wouldn't sit to break bread with, then realize that maybe you should close your eyes and listen to what she says, rather than be awed by what she looks like. Close your eyes. Feel the energy of what she says. Learn how to be a shaman warrior. And I use the word warrior to give you a sense of urgency and sure-footedness across the plains of these mountains as you excavate out of a landscape that was never real. You know what I love about the movie Highlander? It's about a man who's actually, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's called Highlander. I love a lot of men's movies because they have a lot of beautiful wisdom. And I love women's movies. I love both. I love Jane Austen. You should watch, if you're a man, watch Jane Austen. If you're a woman, watch men movies. But Highlander is about this guy who actually is in Scotland. I think it's around 1400s, some thereabouts. And he dies in a battle, but then he doesn't. He's like immortal. They're called immortals. And he falls in love with this Scottish lass. And she grows old. She's very old, and he never ages. He's beautiful. And then she dies in his arms. He loves her soul. He loves her mind. And yes, he loved her body and made love to it in the moors and in her beautiful purity and perfection. But she got old and wrinkled, and he still loved her. He never left her for a younger woman. That's a hell of a scene in Highlander. He never stopped loving her, because now it's the year 1990 or whatever, right? And she's still, this soul of that woman is still in his heart. That's what I mean by close your eyes and listen. My son was telling me, we took a walk today at night, and he said that a billionaire, he's another billionaire, who owns this place here. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it in detail, but apparently his wife has white hair. Have you ever seen some of these women with white hair or salt and pepper hair, and they have these young faces? They look so you're like, whoa. They look like something out of another planet. But you know, they're in their 40s, 50s, whatever, 60s. But they look absolutely like goddesses, right? Anyway, he decided to trade her in for a new model. The man is in his 60s, got himself a 20-year-old. Total loss of respect. Total fucking loss of respect. Because you see, what he just traded in was a girl that anyone can have if he has the right price. What he had was a woman who chose him. What he traded in was a woman who said, oh yeah, him or better. Him or better. And this is congratulated in your circles, in the men club, these little men club. And this is absurd. And this is a pattern, a template, purposely put into place to fracture your power. Because you see, to get laid isn't hard. Any fucking idiot can go in a 5-star hotel, sit and get a glass of Chablis, wait, and someone will come. Always, someone always comes. Saying no to the most desirable woman, now that's a flex. Saying yes to the most desirable woman again and again is not a flex. It shows a lack of discipline, integrity, self-love, and control. Holster your root chakra. Any woman can get laid, by the way. Doesn't matter what she looks like. And I don't need to prove it. It's been proven time and again. We have to recenter ourselves as a people. And many people will not make it. And I'm not concerned with people who won't make it. I'm concerned with you. You on the edge of giving up. This live is for you. It is not for assholes. It's for you. I'm not concerned with women who want to sell their fucking ass to the highest bidder. I'm not concerned with men who want to have 1,000 women under their fucking thumbs. I don't care about the templates of the Bonnie Blues and the Andrew Tates. I'm concerned with you. I want you to know your worth. And part of the problem is that you have scattered your worth to a system that is absolutely out to get you. And it's not paranoia, it's a fact. As long as you consume, they will keep throwing the ads, the cultural bullshit that makes you think as if you're a man because, you know, you got this, that, and the other. There's a guy that is in his 30s that has been riding through the Sierras and all the I think he's coast to coast. He rides. He's got pea shoot, I think, his donkey, and he's got 2 horses. And he's probably right now getting ready to camp for the winter on some guy's ranch that he's allowed to camp on. And he's been doing that for 10 years. I think almost 11 years. His value as a man is fascinating. He's alone. He probably has a lover here and there, and they have an arrangement. Who knows? I don't know his story. Not on that level. But I find him absolutely fascinating because he's found his purpose. He talks about wild carrots and various edibles that are on the prairies of this land, this beautiful, gigantic land mass. And he lives in a teepee in the winter. I find him a lot more fascinating than any Elon Musk with $1 trillion. I find him a lot more interesting than Jared Kushner, right? Or what are the other names? Oh, Sam Altman. I find him like a light in the dark. And I don't think he has 20 grand in the bank, or maybe he does. I don't know. It's none of my business, but I know this. I don't see his value on how much money. I'm not watching him in a sports car. I'm not watching him pop open a bottle of champagne. He makes his own fucking pants out of deer skin. He hunts deer, cures the leather, and sews pants for himself. He lives the 5D template in a 3D world, which I find absolutely impressive. And so those are the men I'm telling you to go watch, man. And if you go through a moment of great grief and depression and self-loathing, when you harm yourself, when you as a man decide to take your life, I caution you. I would actually call the hotline. Even if all you want to do is rage and vent and scream and shout and sob. Let somebody else take your rage, your pain, your despair. Please do it. I don't care if you have to do it every fucking day just to breathe another hour, another week. Do it, and don't be ashamed. Because when you take your life, when you say goodnight, you create a domino effect that harms other men. It is a pollination that grabs the energy in the winds of change. And if you've ever studied the 100 monkey theory, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You are actually responsible for the collective of the masculine. That's why these billionaires and trillionaires are responsible for the 99% of the masculine feeling like they're fucking nothing. Eisen said, my brother, because that's how he talks, my brother, if you have the name of another on your chest, you are betraying yourself. If you are making another man's dreams come true and making him rich, you are betraying yourself. You were never made to be another man's slave. That's why I want you to follow him. I want you to listen to that man. I want you to see if he has retreats. I want you to go to the retreat. I don't care if you have to sell every fucking thing you own. Go see. I did it. In 2018, I sold every fucking thing I owned to go see my shaman. And I traveled 3,000 miles to do it. When the student is ready, the teacher will come. You see, I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm giving you the right templates. Not the Aubrey Marcuses of the world that wants to, ISIS told me to, be the, what do they call him? Baby daddy of these two bitches on the payroll. On the payroll. Because I'm going to tell you something about polygamy. If you want to watch my whole YouTube series on Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, please do it. Because if you look at the first video, I will break down polygamy. And I will tell you how it fractured our people. And how we were sold a bag of goods. And how stories of the ancient world in the antiquities were, again, fractured to create the divide and conquer of the gender. To create the gender wars. And then somehow one day racism came into play. But in the ancient Roman culture of slavery, there was no racism. Not the way we have it today. In fact, not even the way we had it 400 years ago. It's a new evolution from the good book. Yeah. So I want you to know that when you hate yourself, you hate every brother on this planet. It is a pollination. It is a domino effect. You fucking matter. You matter that much. You may not think so, but you do. And when you harm the woman that you're supposed to love, you know, the best sex you've ever had, it was her. The best whatever you've had with any woman has been with her. And you run and ghost and gaslight yourself and so on. You then fracture the feminine, and then her grief and her self-loathing then also creates a domino effect. In other words, my little brother, when you fucking hate yourself and you can't feel like you're worthy to be with the woman that you really want to be with because you don't feel worthy, you are fucking the entire planet, and you are diving us deeper and deeper and deeper into 3D. You see how it works? Now that's spiritual Darwinism. And that's the only Darwinism I'll ever quote. So, hopefully this made sense. If I were you, I would, you know, share this live if you can. Share this. And do what you can to talk to your men and talk to yourself. And, but send this to your brothers, your sisters, your whoever is going through pain. And, you know, sit down with them and listen to this. Go on a walk, go on a drive and listen to this. I would say that it may even trigger your man, and you maybe want to take a walk in the woods so you guys can yell and shout at each other and whatever the fuck goes on. Why do I sound so angry? Why do you ask such a stupid ass fucking question? That's a stupid question, and you know it is. You're full of shit. Why aren't you angry enough? Why aren't you angry enough for your brothers? Why aren't you man enough to be fucking angry? Why aren't you angry that your dick's been owned by fucking systems? I'm angry for you. I'm more of a man than you are. And that's a problem. And many of us as women are more manly because of you assholes don't even understand when it's good to be angry. It's not good to be angry when your football team fucking loses a game. This is what you're angry for. Do you understand, little boy? Fucking get the fuck out of here. God, I'm so sick of fucking boys. Most of the women on this planet came to be women to love a man, to be in her Shakti energy, to walk as a feminine, divine goddess, high priestess. And you motherfuckers, most of you, why are you so angry? Because you're not fucking being a man. That's why, little boy. So either grow fucking a set or get the fuck off my life. Because we women are fucking exhausted. That's why. And if the last thing I do, angry is such a low frequency emotion. Really, little boy? You know what's a low frequency emotion? Your cowardiceness. You're a coward. Because if you were not a coward, you would fucking say, right on. Fuck yeah, let's get the fucking ball going. Let's change. Let's grow some men. Let's actually get them off, unplugged from the matrix of porn and addictions. But no, you want to judge me because you have a small you know what. So why don't you get off my live? Because I don't talk to boys. I've raised a boy into a man, and I've been fortunate to live with men. But I have no tolerance for people like you who like to lobotomize women. So get off my fucking live, you fucking creep. That's it. When women feel as if they can be in their feminine and safe to do it, when women feel like any man is a safe container, then women won't have to act like men. It's very simple. Women did not incarnate to be men. We didn't want to be men. That's why we chose the womb. That's why we chose to be women. That's why we grew a set of tits, a great ass, waists, faces, lips, the hands, the tender touch of a woman to a man, or a woman, another woman, but we did not come here to be men. And I see too many great women who have to be in their literally Shiva energy instead of being in their Shakti energy. So I really can't stand men who ask women why they're angry instead of asking themselves and then saying. And the fact is, and I'm going to say this, anger is not a low frequency if it's a fucking righteous rage. Angel Michael is a male, and he's angry when there's injustice. Who the fuck are you to come on my live and now try to belittle me and lobotomize my passions and think it's low? You know what's low frequency? Your fucking silence is low frequency. Your apathy is low frequency. And I know you're into porn. Okay, and you probably have a certain type because she's so soft and so gentle. So listen, ladies, goddesses, goddesses. I had a client yesterday who's an amazing woman. And I said, you need to eat from the banquet of life. And she said to me, I don't know what utensils to use. And I said, eat with your hands. Eat with your hands. Be a wild woman. Women Who Run with the Wolves. She went, oh my God, I never read that book. Read that book. Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Estes Pincola. Read that book. Because the trappings of what should be, and trust me, I was raised by a woman who had all the etiquette of a French-born woman, okay? In other words, how to be a French lady. I know all the tricks. I know exactly what to do, what to wear, how to look, where to put my hands, what utensils work. And here I am saying, eat with your hands. Stop conforming to what people expect. That doesn't mean you can't morph into what you need to be because you want to be a lady. But also don't ever let any weak man try to lobotomize your passions, your wildness, because you will be corrupted by a man who tries to tell you, ladies don't act like that. Well, a real man, a wild man would walk beside a wild woman. And frankly, at this point, I think most of us want a wild man. Because so far, the expressions of the supposed civilized, there's the guy with the suit here in that picture, so I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan at all. And so, that's my last advice to you. And as for you men who are afraid of wild women, we're not for you. Go get your robot. Enjoy your robot. You'll have a very deep connection. It'll be so soul lifting, and you'll age, and she'll never age, but she'll take care of you because she's a robot. And then, when the batteries come out or the warranties expire, you'll have to get a new robot. Keep on moving, my friend. Don't let men ever tell you what you're supposed to be. That's what I love about Aizen, because he's got a wild woman and he's a wild man. And they're happy. And they are an incredible, to me right now, who knows, in 10 years, we'll find out he had 3 sick, I don't know, right? But on paper, it looks fucking good. It looks beautiful. There are beautiful templates you can look at. They're in action right now that you probably will resonate with. And I suggest you share it with each other, share it with your guy. And then, honestly, my question to people who are afraid of falling in love is why? I was afraid of falling in love, and I know exactly why. I excavated that, and now I'm no longer afraid of that, of love. I want the best for the people around me. And hence, I want the best for the entire planet. And I feel sad that men feel so trapped by a template that says that your worth is your bank account. It's that simple. And a lot of things that men could have done or women could have done in their lives were prevented because of this system that said if you don't have the money to pay for it, you can't do it. Be it travel, be it education, be it taking a year sabbatical to just get your head together. Those things were not available to a lot of people who needed that time, that space to rediscover new versions of themselves. Most men are afraid of going deep in the weeds of their own trauma because they're afraid that they won't be able to function in society. They're afraid it's going to be a Pandora's box that will never, never open. I mean, that will never close. Excuse me. That will never, never close. And that's tragic. We have always loved women who are in their power and expression. Thank you for saying that. Eartha Kitt comes to mind. Yeah, Eartha Kitt, exactly. Can you imagine? I love that. Eartha Kitt was the product of a rape. I don't know if you guys know that. And so she was biracial. I don't know if you know that either. And she was abused. Okay, essayed. Because of that. Because of all of that. So all the men who love her, there's a beautiful scene where she says, she's being interviewed, she said, all the men who loved her never had sex with her. All the men who really loved her and protected her never had sex with her. There's a famous story that Orson Welles, he was an incredible, brilliant man, was so enamored, he was so crazy about, he bit her. He literally just bit her because she was so delicious, right? But he never had sex with her. He adored her. He had her on a pedestal. And there's a scene where she's being interviewed in a garden. She has absolutely no makeup. I think that's what you're referring to. And the man who clearly doesn't, she's a savage, okay? She's fucking a wild woman, okay? Unhinged, unapologetic. You could call it anger. I call it self-advocacy and passion. And he says, would you change for a man? And she went, change for what? And she laughs. She bolts out a laugh that just, it shocks him, right? And she says, change for what? Why should I change? For what? And she's like, defiant. Why should I change? For what? For a man? Why? Right? Because the men who sexualized her were draining her energy. And the men who did not loved her for who she was. And men who want to have tantric connections with their women need to heal their fucking root chakra. Then they will be able to embody the kind of man who is safe to surrender to in your Shakti energy. If that makes sense. I also have bimbos who come on my lives who ask me, why are you so angry? Because I'm not a Barbie. Sorry, get the fuck off my life. I'm not a Barbie. I'm not your rubber dolly. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to be honest. I'm on a spiritual journey. Get the fuck out of my way. Walk with me or get the fuck out of my way, which is what Yeshua did, which is what Mary Magdalene did, which is what Mother Mary did. It's insane to me. Eleanor Aquitaine. It got worse and worse and worse as the centuries unfolded for women to be wild women. Eleanor of Aquitaine stopped a war by getting on her horse naked in the middle of the battlefield. She stopped a war, bare-breasted and all. Eventually ended up in a tower. She was the richest woman in France, Eleanor of Aquitaine. Aquitaine was France. She owned Aquitaine. She was rich and married a younger king. And he fucked her. There's a great movie called The Lion in Winter, which you can watch, which is brilliant, with Katharine Hepburn and I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, it's brilliant. And it's based on that fact. She's in a tower. Joan of Arc, a lioness, betrayed by the French king and the Pope and the Brits, right? I could go on. There's so many, right? So many women. Cleopatra. Nefertiti was also betrayed by the priests because they didn't believe in monotheistic religion, beliefs. You know, they were praying to God. They were praying to Ra, God, one God. So my point to you is women who had the, God forbid you actually ask for truth, demand it, and passionately advocate for it, and then you are then called aggressive, I love this shit. Aggressive, angry. Why are you so angry? It's a low frequency. No, low frequency is apathy, cowardiceness. That's a low frequency. The wildness. I mean, really, please, if you haven't read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, fuck, my twin, my masculine alpha male read it from cover to cover, okay? So if he can read it, any man should be able to read it, and any woman should read it. And the way you read it is you just open it. Ask your angels, what do I need to know today? And open it. It's an oracle book. That's how you read it. Not linearly, but literally on the spot, whatever comes. There's a great story where these Polynesian women, I'm going to tell you this story because it's incredible. These Polynesian women are told, because they're topless, right? They're nature girls, right? Polynesia. And I believe it was Polynesia. It could have been another, but I'm going to go with that one. Anyway, so I think it's around during World War II, I believe. And there's going to be a cortege of soldiers and trucks and tanks, whatever, right? They're going to have a whole thing. And so the missionaries say, look, listen, you need to not show your breast, okay, whatever. Put on some tops or whatever. Just don't show your, tops, okay, because you got no tops, so put something on. So they do, right? But they're so shy. They're so shy, and they have no underwear that they lift their skirts to their faces, and the whole row of women are, you can imagine. And it's the innocence of women. It's the over-sexualized concepts of these weird-ass templates controlled by these really weird religions that we all have been raised under, and the innocence of innocence. And there's something funny and loving and beautiful about that scene, and you'll probably come across it in the book. There's also stories of fairy tales we've all grown up: the red shoes, the handless maiden, and some other stories that are absolutely the way she deconstructed through the Jungian approach of the psychology and the psyche of our cultures, and how as little girls and little boys we were raised on these stories, Hans Christian Andersen stories that are pretty, in my opinion, kind of brutal. But I didn't know that when I was growing up, like, The Little Mermaid and so on. There's a brutality, because the actual version of The Little Mermaid, as you know, she gives up her voice, her legs. She falls in love with the prince. She's mute. She can't express how she feels. He falls in love with someone else, marries her, and on the ship, she's about to take his life. She's got a knife, a blade. She's about to take his life, and the woman he just married. And she's so distraught that she goes to the bow of the ship, and her sisters are calling to her to come to them. And she throws herself into the ocean and becomes part of the foam. This is the actual story, okay? Part of the foam. And in Buddhism, to surrender your ego, you become part of the ocean of consciousness, which I never knew at the age of 4 when I love that story, but now I do, right? So when you read Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is an absolute must in your library, this is not a conversation. And I would again say, go buy an old copy, a hardback copy from eBay or thrift books, or, Abbey Books, whatever. Or from your local bookstore, okay? And if you see 2 copies for $4 or $6, get the both, because at some point you should give a copy away to one of your girlfriends, because it's a book that women give each other. They're always gifted to each other. And I highly recommend, I can't recommend it enough. It changed my life. I got the book as a gift at the age of 31, and it changed my life. Between that and Joseph Campbell's Follow Your Bliss, I was around 31 when I had those 2 philosophies coming at me like a bookends of wisdom, is what launched me into my new life in first excavating my trauma and then deciding what I wanted in my in this incarnation, which launched me into my mission, which I live today. So I can't say enough about that book. But anyway, you saw my my righteous anger, and you will see it quite often. The sickness of positive vibes only. Women do it to themselves too. I agree. We have always loved women who are in their power and expression. Yeah, Eartha Kid. I'm glad you brought up Eartha Kid. That was great. Thank you Mama Yeti. Please follow Mama Yeti. She's also a content creator. Follow her if you can. She's right here. And tell me, Larissa, what did you want to say with the sunglasses, or the glasses, rather, the glasses? Tell me more, because I really don't understand emojis too much. I think I love emojis, but only after some words. You know what I mean? Emojis on their own not always are going to impart the full flavor of what you're trying to express. And I really want to hear the nectar, or the critique of what you want to say, only because I appreciate it. But when a man tells me I'm angry, that's just when I get angry. You need anger management. You're pissing me off. Anyway, it reminds me of my twin when, and I'm saying that because I don't want to call his real name here. He died last year, in case you don't know, of brain cancer, and we were in union. God bless him, and I connect with him every day. I kid you not. But in, how many years ago was that? Hang on, let me calculate. I think it was like 20 years ago. Yeah, damn near. 18 years ago, I sent him a book called Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh, called Anger. Let's talk about anger, because people really love to shame anger. It's really funny to me. And so he was up in the hills of Hawaii. He was camping out, and he had gotten my parcel of gifts, which included the book and other books, but that book, Anger. And he said, I saw that book and I was so fucking angry, I threw it across the hill. And then I went to retrieve the book, sat down in the grass, and started reading it in the middle of the book. And I started shaking and crying. And he said, my beloved, you are so wise. You're right. I need to understand my anger. In a letter back to me regarding the book. And in the book, Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a Vietnamese monk who lived in Plum Village in France, and who wrote many, many, many books. I'm sure there's over at least 30 books he's written. He was able to deconstruct anger in such a way that I never saw anger with shame within myself ever again. I saw it as a little child that needed to be heard. I saw it as me allowing myself to express my emotions as they were coming so I wouldn't fucking have a heart attack. It allowed me to cry when I needed to cry so that I would not combust, implode, self-destruct. And that there were ways to welcome anger onto your lap. I'm paraphrasing a line. And people that are afraid of it, and especially men that try to control women's anger, this is why you've got women that are fucking, even in my opinion, unhinged. Like, there's a picture right now on t-shirts that are being sold of a woman holding a man's head, right? Without his body. And she's holding up, and on the bottom of it, it says, girls will be girls. Now, I can't say I blame them fully, because you know, when you have assholes like Nick Fuentes saying, your body, my choice, you can understand. And most of us as women know at least one or two of our friends that were assaulted when they're children, and assaulted when they were adults. And you know what I mean by assaulted. And so, and the harassment, you know, to be pretty, to be gorgeous, to have a fabulous body, is a pain in the ass. And it shouldn't be a pain in the ass. And men shouldn't feel like they have a right to harass you, that you have to give them your phone. Well, why can't you give me my phone number? You're ugly. I mean, just the explosion of these weak little men that have developed over the template in the last 50 years. It's impossible. Okay? I know when I was young, it was a pain. I mean, I remember, I'm going to say this because it's insane to me. This is in the 80s. This is before cell phones. I was being harassed by a man to the point where I had to dip into our vegetable store. It was a Korean store, and call he became my husband, my then fiance, and say, this man's harassing me. He won't fucking leave me alone. Like, literally. And my, at the time, fiance walked up that fucking, I mean, he was like with a baseball bat. I kid you not. And walked in like a storm, and actually knew the guy who was harassing me. Like, I shouldn't even have such a story to tell you. But the sad part is I know you all have stories. So when a man tells a woman, you're angry, it's low frequency, I'm like, dude, fuck off. Fuck the fuck off. You don't know what we've gone through as women. And if you had any sense, if you were any type of man, you'd know this. And so my husband knew it. My twin knew it. My son knows it. I have friends who know it who are masculine. And they're not playing fucking games. And the sad part is what's morphing out of that, because men are in denial, right? A lot of men are in denial. It's like you got chicks fucking making t-shirts go, girls will be girls. Oh, well. Making psychopathic serial female, you know what, Kiler. Thumbs up. It's like, holy fuck. This is going in the wrong direction. But do I understand female rage? Absolutely. But do I support it? No, because I'm trying to get us to have I'm trying to be one of the very tiny architects of the 5D new earth. And that kind of energy, right? The counterculture of pushing against the masculine patriarchy, toxic patriarchy machine is not that answer. But until men listen and stop your only takeaway is that I'm an angry woman, why don't you ask me why? And then you're going to judge me and say low frequency? Why don't you ask me why? You see? And this is why we have young women right now literally choosing celibate. I mean, young women saying, fuck, unfortunately, I'm not gay. I don't want to have a woman. I don't want to eat any, but I don't want to be with these men because I don't feel safe. I don't feel heard. I don't feel valued. They play games. They ghost me. They gaslight me. They cheat on me. They hurt me. They beat me. They take my money. They'll impregnate me and then leave me. Hello, men. Who do you think's doing this to them? Men. Men who refuse to sit in silence, shut the fuck up, masculine, and listen to what women are saying. Listen to what girls are saying about, I think that when I had a sleepover, the father of my friend did something to me in a sleepover. My father's friend, or my father, or my uncle. Should I go on? Instead, men judge, females' anger instead of asking her why. Let me hear that. I want to hear this. I want to give you sacred space. Let me sit in silence and lean in, all in, and close my eyes and listen with my ears, my body, my soul, my heart, my chakras. I want to absorb every fucking word. And if a man really did this, he'd be sobbing. Why the fuck am I angry? I'm actually not angry. I'm not angry. And this is something that the puritanical system of this country needs to get the fuck out of the way, because passion is not anger. Anger, toxic anger, is unhinged. It's dangerous. And it has no purpose and fucking goes right off the fucking rails and hits a tree. Righteous anger and passion has a trajectory that scares the weak. And it has an urgency that most men who are weak can't control, thus fear it, and will annihilate it with supposed judgmental comments that are actually hysterically funny. They're funny. But because I don't want my lives with those kinds of energies, I block people that are stupid. Fundamentally, I don't like stupid people. I don't care what you have between your legs. I don't talk to dumb people. I'm very interested in healing or helping heal people or helping them find their healing journey in whatever capacity I can. And usually people who get to that level of rawness, like I was in 2018, I was like, I either find out what the fuck I am or I'm out of here. And I'm just saying that to you right now because I'm being transparent. And I thank God I found out who I was through the great-grandmother. And I was able to, I was on a reset journey and I reset. And I never looked back. And my trajectory has been from that point. And the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because it's important for you, men and women, to understand that sometimes you need that like mind-altering journey. Because you're not just dealing with the fractured 3D brain in this life. You're dealing with multiple incarnations that have stacked it's like a layer cake of bullshit. And you don't know how to get out of it. Like, you literally don't know. It feels like you're in a round room with no windows, no doors. Like, you don't know how to get out. And that's for some people, not everyone, but for some people, that journey is an integral part of their freedom. Okay, but not everyone has to do it. And honestly, on site, not everyone should do it. It's a calling. It's an obsession. It's a haunting. And finally, you find, the person, the shaman that you need to connect with. But that's on the side note. And I think a lot of men need to do that. I think a lot of men need to do that because I'm sorry, I'm getting more and more disappointed with some of the men that I'm coming across. And why do men not want to understand our emotions or even give space for it without being defensive? Because those men are weak. Okay? And I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to tell you an honest truth, because you need to understand. My husband, who was a high-level soulmate, was not defensive over it. He was dealing with his own trauma, he was terrified of opening that Pandora's box because he was terrified he would be in a fetal position, sucking his thumb in reliving the trauma again and again, and the shame and the self-loathing. Do you understand? He didn't realize that in releasing that, it would be released and transmuted. And I didn't either, by the way, to be fair. My twin was defensive. And this is why we had runner chaser, fractured moments. And during when we lived together, when we separated, when we lived together again, and finally before he died, it was the final healing journey, the final walk to the light. Without defensiveness, to answer the question. But most men, most men can't, it's funny too, because though my husband could face my anger, my frustration, it got to a point where he was so incapable of handling his own trauma when he was a young child. And he had addictions, unfortunately. And to no fault of his own, because many of the addictions that he could not overcome also were not just his trauma, to be honest. It was the fucking infrastructure. The system was so corrupt. It's a dead end street. It's a no-win game. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't win this game. The nepotism is true. It is, and all the people who have come into the machine, right? All the musicians, all the singers from Prince and onwards have all admitted that there was a certain pact that they had to make to get into the club. Okay? And when they decided they didn't want to be in the club, they didn't live long after those conversations or those announcements or those talks. So that's just on a side note, okay. So for those of us who already know that's the price, we're like, oh yeah, thank you, bye, next. The game is corrupt. And so when the game is corrupt, especially for the masculine, it's devastating. And so when you live under the infrastructure that your worth is dollar bills and 000s, and you're not able to be that guy, and you want to be because you're generous and you're loving, you love your family, you love your wife, you love your kids, but you can't still provide, you're struggling, the electricity bill, is it buying groceries or paying the electricity bill? Those moments? It literally is like a slow death. And the man has to now hide himself, caveman time, with some kind of addictive something to smooth out the edges. Because everything feels splintered. Be it drink, illicit, porn, whatever the fuck he's going to choose. And the woman then becomes the man of the house in a sense, because she becomes a masculine energy that has to make sure everything keeps running. And eventually the woman says, fuck this, I'm leaving, I'm taking the kids because you're not protecting me, you're not supporting me, you're not handling the business. And men who are willing to do the work and support and give sacred space to the woman's rage, like I did. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but if you go all the way down to the bottom of this of my profile page, I have 2 videos. Both of them have white hair. They're an old man, a very old man, a very old woman. And I talk about for the woman, I talk about, and this is something my twin could do, and he did do that for me. I have to give him credit. If I felt jittery, if I felt out of bounds, if I felt trapped, it didn't matter if it was 20 degrees outside and snowing and 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was like a tigress in a cage. He would say, bundle up, we're going on a walk. And we would go on a walk for 45 minutes. Didn't matter. We'd go on a walk. And then we'd come in, freezing our asses off, right? Taking hot showers together, right? Taking a hot shower together. Having a hot turmeric milk or whatever the fuck he'd make. And we go to bed. Maybe make love, maybe not, and fall in each other's arms, fall asleep in each other's arms. So if I was feeling uneasy, on edge, he would, come on, baby, on my lap, get on my lap, come to daddy. And I get on his lap and I put my arms around him and start crying in his shoulder. So I don't know why men don't know how to do that. Learn how to do that for your woman. So in that particular video, I tell men what to do with a woman. And in the video for women, I tell you what to do with the man when he's unhinged, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And these are just, I'm no expert, clearly, but it's certainly better than fucking yelling and screaming or being silent in the house and nothing is fixed. But you can't force a man to want to do these things, nor can you force a woman. So you either want the relationship to thrive or you fucking don't. And if you do nothing, then the message in your apathy is I'm not interested in this relationship and I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to make sure you're fucking miserable and I'm going to make sure that I do nothing to change it. And that's kind of like saying, I guess it's over. Now it's a matter of when. When do I pack my shit and leave? You see what I'm saying? So it's definitely a choice. That's for sure. You know what I mean? So that does that answer your question, Red Mama? Because I know that's a problem. And men, I don't know. I mean, men need to. I don't know where to learn how to be men. I really don't know who's teaching them anything anymore. I know that the first point of contact is the mother, obviously. And yes, I'm going to say the word mother. It's a mother. It's a woman that is nurturing her baby. And some mothers, I was talking to my son about it, and my husband was a victim of that, is that I'm going to use him as an example again. His father left the family at 10 years old in San Francisco, California in 1972. And his mother, who wasn't honest, she's an asshole basically, but she was abusing her son through ignoring him, through then showering him with love, through preferring his sisters over him in all opportunities, over giving to her daughters and giving him nothing. I'm not joking. Because she hated her husband, and her husband, right, his father, my husband was the closest thing to being a punching bag. Okay? And women do this shit. Don't take out your anger on your ex, on your son. Just like some men take their anger on their ex, on their daughters. Don't fucking do that. You would think that's logical and that's common sense, but honestly, people aren't, I don't know. We don't have enough of these kinds of conversation this should be normal table conversation. Like these conversations I'm having with you, right? You think this is live, this is a content creator. No, that's how I talk with all my girlfriends. If you've ever heard me talk with my girlfriends, you'll know that this is exactly the line of conversations we have every time we're on the phone. This and esoteric spiritual evolutions, stories about our downloads, the Galactic Council, the Venusian Elders, the Akasha, right? Today, this is a theme, right? Base theme, talk. But this is how we talk. And I really believe that if all of us at nail salons and restaurants, at dinner parties talk like that, we would have really wonderfully, highly evolved conscious societies around the world. Don't you think? Right? So that's what we're not doing, right? Oh, guys, God forbid we should make people uncomfortable. Why are you uncomfortable? Don't you want to fucking get to the meat of the nectar of truth and release? But no, people would rather have insipid fucking conversations in restaurants, at cocktail events, at Thanksgiving dinner, right? It's coming up. They'd rather have insipid fucking conversations. And then they wonder after a generation of doing, why is our country like that? Why is society? Well, because you guys never talk about it. You don't talk about trauma. It's weird to me. Don't you think? So I think we need to grow up. I understand completely what you're saying. Okay. And then let me see here. What are you saying here? Om Ramani calls that containment, learning how to be to the foundation, the rock, exactly. Let me see what else. What other? Did I make you? Hang on for a quick second. I'm sorry to do this in the middle of this. You're a moderator, right? Okay, Mama Yeti, you're a moderator. Just so you know. So don't be a happy. Just like someone that's ridiculous, but. Don't get too friendly with that, but try to contain people because I'm not really looking down. Any questions or comments? Any questions that you have about your relationship with your masculine? If you're a masculine, could you tell me, what are you doing to heal your shadows? What are you doing to grow your power as a masculine who's incarnated in this timeline? What are you doing? And what are you doing as women for your masculine counterpart and for yourself? What are you guys doing? Any comments on that? Any questions? I'm going to wait. Let me see. Any comments or questions? Anything at all? Let me see, because I'm seeing if I missed anything. Ultimately, women are going to be, and I a friend of mine has said that women are going to create a matriarchy before there's a complete balance. And it's, I think she's right. I think she's right. And I think she's right because men still don't understand our passions. And they're constantly accusing us and demeaning us on our periods, on our menopause, on this, on the pregnancy, the hormone. It's always the hormones of the women that men accuse as being unhinged, when in fact these are power times for women. Those are power times. Those are times to the third eye is completely open. The root chakra is completely open and flowing and purging toxins. You would think men would understand that, but women have to teach them that, The blood month is the power month. The reason why many women are in pain during that time and can't even function, some women, not all, but some, is because of their own trauma in some cases. And some of them are so empathic that on a cellular level, when they are purging not just themselves, but the trauma of a mass amount of the collective pain that needs to be shed in some way. I fully, with my full chest, believe that. Was I clear? I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. So when a woman is going through that and she is crying and hormonal, her hormones that are clashing she's purging other people's trauma as well as her own. That's why it's overwhelming for some women. What happens to women if they are in the masculine for too long? Your root chakra becomes closed off. Your root chakra becomes closed off, and you start looking androgynous. It can actually change the way you look. I'm not joking. You're unable to know your compass is connected to your heart chakra, to your root chakra. It's connected to your tongue. It's connected to your third eye, speaking your truth. So when you, as a woman, become masculine, you lose your path because that's the exclusive role you're playing. And you're not picking up on your feminine energy was the intuitive. See, feminine is pure intuition. It's psychic. It's third eye. It's the unknown. It's expansive. It's water. It flows. The minute your root chakra is fucked like that, as a masculine only, you're fucked. And that's a self-betrayal. And having sex isn't going to open that. It's not about having sex. It's about realizing that you have a man that's turning you into a man. And you need to have a man, or maybe no man. I've gone through multiple levels of this transformation. I've been androgynous, I kid you not, back in the when I was 32. And then I went into the feminine Shakti energy. Then I went back into masculine energy, or what I would call androgynous even. And then when I was with my twin, I was full Shakti. Full on Shakti. And Shakti energy is all the nectar of the high priestess. And you're at your most powerful. And you feel safe to some level, okay? Because I don't want to put him on a pedestal because he put me through hell. I'm sure I put him through hell, but he put me through hell as well. But what was interesting is even though he put me through hell, which, to be honest with you, actually excavated some shadows I thought I had healed. Clearly I hadn't. And I was still very much in my Shakti energy. Very much. The minute I had to take on too much of the fractured system of survival, of living, in the 3D capitalistic system that is so, unbalanced, I saw myself becoming androgynous because I had to shut down certain things to become the warrior. I had to go into my masculine to be the warrior to survive. And that is not good. So you want to be you want to be androgynous if nothing else. You want to be in that androgynous where you are transmuting these energies, and you are in the yin and yang, you're anima and animus. You're able to toggle between the feminine and the masculine, and then back to the neutral of the androgynous, of the soul anyway. But if a feminine is masculine and a masculine is too feminine, it's an imbalance that fractures your path and your confidence. In other words, you won't be able to make decisions that are heart-based. You'll make decisions that are completely fear-based, survival-based. You see what I'm saying? Or you'll make no decision because you're overwhelmed. You'll make only the now decisions of survival, which is masculine. That's why men that have their shit together read the energy and move with the wind. Do you understand? They're very much in their masculine energy, but they are able to flow into their feminine energy to get all the nectar of the feminine wisdom of the unknown, right? The third eye and all of that. And they're able to do that. But when men are too into their masculine, they also can't deal. And eventually they implode. They self-destruct, actually. You can't stay on that. That's why do you think there's so many people in the masculine field that are addicted. I mean, addicted on levels that you and I, we all know it's so self-destructive. It's a dead end street and it's going to end badly, right? They're too far there, but I found that most men that had their shit together were able to flow, and women too. And some women, when you come out of it and you go back into your Shakti energy, I think at that point you're walking the balance of the animus within you. And you've been forged by your experiences. By no means are you a Kuan Yin at that point. You'll never be able to be a Kuan Yin, in my opinion. But you will be more in a Tara energy, like you won't be Kali anymore. You won't have to be, but you'll be in your Tara energy. And that means that you are soft, but you're how do I put it? You're soft, but you're very strong. And you put off an energy of power, though you're still feminine, but you're so powerful, you'll probably scare men. You'll scare a lot of men. They'll be overwhelmed by you. Which is fine, because the only men that you want to scare off are weak men, and weak men are always dangerous. They're more dangerous than the strong ones. Strong ones don't want to, as a rule, they don't want to harm you. Weak men do. They want to harm you. That's why you had those guys in Telegram, 70,000, or was it 77,000, talking about what they wanted to do with their mom, their dad, their sister. I mean, it was insane. It was fucking unhinged on Telegram. Do you really think those were alpha males? Those were fucking weak betas. Those are the guys that came out after CK was assassinated, and what was his name? The guy who supposedly did the harm to Charlie with his, transgender boyfriend, girlfriend. There's a whole underground of that shit where they're turning guys into chick energy, and abusing, and it's fucked, because I've been following a couple guys that are transgender, or some of them are not even some of them are just posing as feminines. They have long hair, they love to wear makeup, but they're still going to keep all, like, they don't want to go through a transformation, with breasts and all of that. They want to be a male. They love males. But they're very feminine, and there's nothing wrong with them at all. But what's sad to me, and this is why I don't like weak men, is that these men who are supposedly straight take these guys on who are feminine males, right? Femboys. And they are abusing the fuck out of these guys psychologically, physically. It's ugly. It's ugly. So instead of doing it to women, right, they've turned their attention to these men who are more even subservient than, I guess, some women. And the abuse is off the charts. That's why I don't like weak, geek, beta males. They're so dangerous. They're dangerous to other men. They're dangerous to our children. They're dangerous to us. Because they violently hate the female sex. Violently. So that's why I have absolutely no tolerance for weak men. None at all. Like a sharp bird being a Tara, I already intimidate people, so I'm told. Intimidate people, yes. Yeah. The iron fist and the velvet glove. Exactly. Beautifully said, Cosmic Canary. Hi, all, thank you so much for this information. Oh, you're welcome. I hope it's helping. Does that make sense? So I'm going to tell you something. My husband was checking out, meaning in his addiction, which I love him, okay? I will always love that man. I have nothing but good things to say. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. I blame the system for turning him into an addict. Just like Native Americans were being turned to become alcoholics through the government, okay? Just like giving away, blankets with smallpox, shit like that, okay? So I blame the system for turning my beautiful man into a complete alcoholic, okay? And part of it was because that was the only thing that was legal, right? At the time, what was legal? Alcohol, nothing else, right? You go to jail, okay? And we know what grows wild that you can, okay. And that to me is the infrastructure of the system that makes it impossible for people to get the care, the need, the help, the rest that they need, okay? To not work, to not worry about rent, mortgage, whatever, to take a sabbatical. I'm not kidding. Some of us need a fucking year of doing absolutely nothing. And I mean that, nothing. Reading books, taking walks, being in silence. Some of you guys need it. And I think you know who you are. So with that said, why do you think you've got men literally doing 2, 3, 6 packs of beer in front of a TV the size of a fucking, building and watching at full volume football games and losing their shit when a team loses? And then, of course, there's always physical abuse in the household. And why is that not... why don't they have commercials during football games? We used to have the commercial where... Do you know where your kids are? At 10 o'clock, right? Do you know where your kids are? How about this? Don't beat your wife when the team loses. How about that? How about creating commercials? It's not like they're not billionaires. That actually kind of enforces, treat your wife with kindness. When was the last time you hugged your wife? When was the last time you said she was beautiful and that you loved her? That should be commercials. But, they talk about family values, but they don't want to really promote it. And promoting it means making commercials that actually tell men how to treat their women, their wives, their children. But no, they promote the Sunday football. They promote the violence of the bread and circus. They promote the over drinking. It's all promoted by design to keep the cycle of despair. You see what I'm saying? But instead, on a Super Bowl Sunday, right? Super Bowl, we'll be what is it? We'll be forced. I mean, I don't watch this shit, but most people will be forced to watch halftime play, I guess it's called, and commercials that are fucked. There's no higher message. There's nothing about loving your neighbor. There's nothing about loving your partner, your wife, and keeping your fucking hands off your spouse. And if I'm wrong and you've watched a commercial on a Super Bowl game or any Sunday football, and I'm picking football because it's pretty violent in my opinion, let me know if you've ever watched a commercial that says, a commercial that shows abuse and not to do it. I find that interesting, come to think of it. So clearly, if you don't see that, right? And then they have commercials on pharma, take this and the side effects are blah, blah, blah. Okay, they'll sell that, but not true healing, not true compassion, not true protection of the feminine. So it's threaded. The hate of the feminine is literally weaved into the fabric of our societies. Clearly, I mean, hello, right? And then a man has the audacity to ask me, and I always get one asshole coming, and I get women too, the fucking, Mary Poppins, that go, why are you angry? So it's like, because you guys aren't fucking angry enough. But see, I'm not angry. My blood pressure is fine. I'm actually not angry. And volleyballing these fucking questions that are so insipid, so pedestrian, so low. You want to talk? That's low frequency. That kind of question is so low frequency. High frequency is, how can we make the changes? I hear you, sister. I hear your urgency. I hear your righteous anger. How can we make it happen? How can we change the whole system? That's the question I want to hear. Do I ever get that from a human being that's wired like that? No, never. I've never gotten one like that. Never. Right? Have you? And many of you follow me and you've never seen it. Yeah, didn't the Pope just say that Mary Magdalene was even there? Yeah, the Pope is such a fucking fraud. They're all frauds. Can I tell you what to watch? Watch the Borgias with Jeremy Iron. Watch there's two Borgias. There's two versions. I watched both because that's how I'm wired. But again, to remind you, Niccolo Machiavelli based his book, The Prince. It's about massive manipulation. It talk about narcissism in action. Dog eat dog type of world, written around, when was it written? 14th, 15th century? I don't remember. But anyway, he based his book character, right, of the Prince, Machiavelli, the Prince, on the Borgia, the Pope. Watch it. Because there's not one Pope. Please don't tell me, but there's a good Pope. Okay, but how long did he live? Not long. Okay, so that's all I got to say on the Pope. Mind you, there were two popes that knew that Mary Magdalene was a powerful woman and that she walked in equality and love with Yeshua. And yet they still insisted to call her a whore. And they insisted on doubling down. Two popes, Pope Benedict and Pope Gregory. Actually, Pope Gregory was the first. The second one to continue that farcity, that betrayal, was Pope Benedict. And that's fucked up. And so for this Pope to come out, because you see the rise of the feminine is moving at a fast pace, right? So he has to lobotomize us once again. Oh, Mary Magdalene was no one. That the Gospel of Mary, it's a fake. Dead Sea Scrolls, no. It doesn't mean anything. So, when you hear, sorry for coughing, when you hear another one bites the dust, again, look up Pope Joan. She was a female pope. It's a hush hush, wink wink type of story. The French know it. The Europeans know it. They've done a movie on the subject of Pope Joan. Pope Joan, it happened in the 9th century. In the 9th century, they were marrying men to each other, by the way. And many of the men who taught me that, the gay males who were living through the AIDS epidemic in the 80s and 90s, and sure enough, they used to marry the men in the 9th century in the Catholic Church. So I don't want to hear any more bullshit with these popes. They're full of shit. So I have no respect for these religions anyways. You probably have ascertained. You watch that. What did you think of it? What did you think of that? So let's get back to being wild women. I would say get into your wildness, get into your real power. Don't apologize. Find your Doc Holidays. And men, my brothers, you need to find yourself. You need to grow up. You need to just grow. And some of you are already grown. You're so grown as masculines, but you're hurting and you are feeling fractured and you're still, parts of the things that oppress you is the template of being a billionaire or having money, a lot of money. And this is harming you, and this is something that you somehow need to understand isn't your value. Your value is controlling your monkey mind, manifesting 5D, knowing that you are beloved and that you are admired and you are needed. We need you to help escort 5D into full transmission. And that's it. That's my summary. And if you want to watch this live, it'll be on YouTube. Watch my lives. I have a lot of lives where I kind of talk about the fracture of the template of the sacred masculine feminine, which is Mary Magdalene and Yeshua for the Western world, and for most of the planet, actually, I'd say. Because most of the planet was converted to Christianity, and Christianity became a misogynistic story that oppressed, lobotomized. They used to send us to nunneries, and when they couldn't send us to nunneries anymore, they were lobotomizing us, and you know that's true. And sending us to mental hospitals, okay? So Frances Farmer is the last woman who was a wild woman, who was an actress, who was lobotomized. She was violated, she was lobotomized, she was harmed because she was wild. Okay? Camille Claudel was the lover of Rodin, Augustus Rodin, and she was brilliant. Actually, she was better than Rodin as a sculpturist, and he had used her badly, sexually and badly. She was in love with him, and she ended up being taken away to a mental hospital. This is in the 1880s. And in the 1880s, up until probably the 1980s, 90s, mental hospitals were not a place you wanted to end up in and get trapped in that cycle. Watch the movie. I'm trying to remember the movie with Miranda Richardson and Martin Chokos. It's called, hang on, let me think. It's called, it starts with an A. And it's about a woman who ends up in the mental institutes in these days were up until probably, I'll go as far as the late 90s. I'm not joking when I say that. I'm not impressed with mental places because the abuses, the psychological abuse, I'm trying to remember the name of that book. It was an incredible book. It's based in 1959 in England. Do you guys know the name? Can you look up Miranda Richardson and see if you can find it? Animal Nature to Get to Power. I'm trying to remember this. It's an incredible. Okay, so let me read you. Let me read what you're saying. Pope Joan was blowing my mind, and the Borgias. Sorry about the Borgias. That showed the animal culture to get the power. Absolutely, right on. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I'm trying to remember this name. What the fuck was it called? Fuck. It was an incredible movie. Hang on, okay? I'm gonna see if I can find it. Can you wait a second? Because I wanna see. Listen, can you look up? Let me see. I just want to get the name of the. I'm gonna be gone for a minute. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it's the Miranda Richardson movie with Martin Chokos. I highly recommend this movie, but it's going to freak you out. You're going to need a comedy afterwards. But it is so fucking good. And it's about karmic obsession. They are not twins. Don't even think they're twins. They're not. Fucking good. And it's about karmic obsession. They are not twins. Don't even think they're twins. They're not. But it's twins. They're not. But it's karmic. I got the name. It's called Asylum. Okay, it's called Asylum. Please go watch that movie. That actually was one of my favorite psychological thriller horror movie. The sex is off the charts. It's very sexy. It's very erotic, but you get to see the head of the psych department and he's a weak man. You know what? He's a perfect template of these billionaires and trillionaires. When you watch that movie, look at the psych director. He's obsessed with Miranda Richardson. He's obsessed. He's jealous. He wants her for himself. And then you have the fractured masculine who's just fucked up. He's just fucked up, but it's her lover. I'm going to just give it away. And the psych director is that weak geek that doesn't know really who he wants to have sex with. He doesn't know if he wants to have sex with Miranda Richardson, and in his belief system of what civilization wants me to be is married to a woman, right? But he's also obsessed with Martin Chokos. He's obsessed with him. He's bisexual. He doesn't know it though, but he's a psych director. And he's arrogant, entitled, manipulative, Machiavellian, sadist. He's a sadist. Watch the movie. So it's called Asylum with Martin Chokos and Miranda Richardson. And I think that movie was like probably 2-3 years before she died of the skiing accident. Movie Dance with a Stranger, I have no idea. But watch that movie, because that movie fucking is it's the GOAT. And I've been wanting to buy the book for a long time, but I'm not going to, because until I move again once. But I'm going to remember to buy the book, because the book is absolutely beautifully written, and it's gorgeous. And I would watch that. One of my favorite movies ever about love and a man who can't fully allow himself to love and yet falls in love, like literally falls in love, is the movie The English Patient with Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Binoche. And that is a beautiful movie. And I remember when they were making it, and the director, forgot his name, but he died. And he had such an awe of the screenplay, right? And of the book. It was also an incredible book. But that shows you a man who's obsessed with a woman, but can't allow himself to surrender to this woman. And I think this could heal you as women who know the man's crazy about you, and then you start gaslighting yourself. Well, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe he's not into me. Maybe he doesn't like me. No. Watch the movie English Patient, Ralph Fiennes, Juliette Binoche. But Asylum is scary, because it is a primal fear of being in a mental place, a mental hospital, where you know people in there, no offense, people who are in power of that, and I'm not going to take it back, I stand on the hill on this one. Most of the people in psych, not all, I mean, we have some wonderful people that we've met and this and that, but many of them are fucked up, okay? They're fucked up. and they're sadists. And if I was lying, Francis Farmer's story is one of many stories I've heard of the incredible abuses that happen to women that end up in those places. So when a man asks you, why are you angry? You should say, why aren't you fucking asking me the right questions? That's not the right question. The right question is, what is the right question? Do you even know how to formulate the right question? Because usually a man that would ask that is actually weak. He's a weak man. Strong men, even addicted men in pain, would have the sense to ask you, what's wrong, baby? Tell me why. Tell me what's going on. What's going on? What do you want to heal? What are you exploring? Why? You want to take a walk? Let's take a walk. A strange man, a man that doesn't know you from Adam, would sit in contemplation and say, tell me more. Tell me more. Your emotions are so heightened. Tell me more. Why are they heightened? What can I do to help you feel safe? To share with me why you feel such an urgency, a call to express the howling of your soul. Tell me. That's a good man. That's a man. He might on his own be handling alcoholism, other addictions, whatever, right? But a good man would still have the good sense to ask in the right way the right questions. And I want you to know that as women. I want you to demand more from these men, or shut them down and say, kindly fuck the fuck off. Thank you, have a good day. You know what I mean? But don't get yourself lobotomized remotely by some creep. All right? Anyway, I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you for being here. Follow me on YouTube, and let me know what you think of these lives. Before I let you go, actually, what would be a good subject to explore next time? Does anybody have any ideas? I mean, I always have inspiration that get me on these lives, but what would be a good live that you think would be interesting for you to explore with me? I'm going to give you some time. Any ideas? A good live where we're talking about what? What would you like to talk about next time? Pineal gland, the third eye. Okay, sounds good to me. What do you want to know? Tell me more. What do you want to know about pineal gland? Do you want to know how to decalcify it? Do you want to know how to... I mean, I could tell you right now. Would you like to know that? Baker's dozen? Tell me more. I want to hear more. What do you want to know about pineal gland? What is it that's blocking you on that? Tell me. I don't know much. Okay, got it. So right off the bat, do not take anything with fluoride. That's a number one no. Okay, drink water. If hopefully you have water that is from a well, a spring, whatever. But if you don't and you live in public water, then you need to know that you probably have fluoride in the water. So with that said, you buy water. When you buy water, make sure that you look at the ingredients, believe it or not, because in some bottled water like Arrowhead and Crystal Geyser, I believe, but Arrowhead definitely, I remember seeing that it said fluoride added to the water, which I was in shock. Okay, so get water that just says spring water and there's no other ingredients. I kid you not. Okay, that's number one. Number two, fasting is going to help you with your third eye activation. Number one. Number two, eating meat is a problem. Why? And I'm sorry if that offends you. Okay, there could be a lot of psychics. Oh, but I eat meat and I'm psychic. And I'd say, are you really? Because really, I mean, come on. So again, that's not me being an asshole. I'm just telling you that when you do the great grandmother medicine, they tell you for 2 weeks not to eat meat, not to have sex, and not to do anything illicit or alcohol. Okay, so and they enforce don't eat meat before you come, because you're going to have your pineal gland activated and it's going to fuck you up if you have meat. So clearly I'm not wrong. Okay, so that's number three. There's the guided meditation on Dr. Joe Dispenza's website called Pineal Gland. And I think he's having a sale, Black Friday. I hate to promote it, but anyway, whatever. Because right now we're having a hashtag close your wallet. But okay, whatever. We're talking about your pineal gland, so I'm going to tell you. So when you go on drjoedispenza.com, it is a well worth investment, which I think is under $40, maybe even less. I bought it when it was $25, and it's a guided meditation. It's going to be 78 minutes, and it's going to decalcify your pineal gland through breathing exercises and so forth. And you will see stars. I kid you, I'm not overstating that. You will, if you do it the way he says it, you will see, and I mean, I saw an explosion of white light that exploded in my brain. I swear to God. And I've done it probably 3 or 4 times. And I'm actually scheduling myself to do it this week. I keep saying that, and I keep not doing it. And now I'm gonna do it, but because that's gonna help with that. Your daily meditation and working on your chakras is going to actually help. And you should go on my profile page and look at my guided meditations, and all of them work on the 9 somatic chakras. Okay, so number one, work on your chakras every day. Clear them, activate them every fucking day. Daily meditations of 5 minutes a day is not a big investment, but within 2 minutes, and again, this is Joe, giving Dr. Joe Dispenza credit for this discovery, working with neurologists all over the world, at 2 minutes, the brain starts changing its assemblage point, and activations of the brain start increasing for healing. And I figure if that happens in 2 minutes, if you do 5 minutes a day, you're good to go for a year. The aspect is not to meditate 20 minutes here, 3 days, no meditation, another 20 minutes, a week goes by, no meditation. It's not about that. It goes like this, 5 minutes every day. Oh, today I'm doing 20 minutes, fantastic. Oh, tomorrow I'm still doing 5 minutes. Do you understand? It's a daily progress. It's like lifting weights. It's like running up hills. It's like building up your cardio and your resistance and your strength and power. And you're doing that with your pineal gland. You're doing that with your chakras. You're doing that with overcoming your monkey mind, because your third eye will not be able to communicate if your monkey mind is kicking the shit out of you. Do you understand? And until you meditate and you can sit your ass down in silence, no music, no guided meditation, none of that. The reason why I'm saying guided meditation is to teach you with my program, which is free. It's right there on the, on my profile under the playlist guided meditation, is to teach you where your 9 somatic chakras is. Once you're done with me, you know what to do and you're good to go. That's why I'm telling you to do it. But moving forward, I want you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in your monkey mind kicking the shit out of you, okay? And then after a year of 5 minutes a day, or maybe 6 months of 5 minutes a day, then kick it up to 6 minutes. Ultimately, I don't want to pressure people. I do 20 minutes minimum, sometimes a half hour, sometimes an hour, okay? But if I do my minimum 20 minutes and one day I do 30 minutes, that doesn't mean that the following day I do absolutely no meditation. And if I miss a day, which at 5 minutes a day, there's no excuse for you to ever miss a day. There's no excuse, literally none. But let's say I miss a 20-minute meditation, which clearly there's no excuse. But let's say some crazy fucking shit happens. I don't miss 2 days in a row. Never. I never miss 2 days. And so the next thing is to walk barefoot to get the electromagnetic current of the Schumann resonance of planet Earth, because it recalibrates you, because part of the system of the chakras is to get the nectar, the surge of power through our feet. And that actually is quite healing to you, believe it or not. Meditating in nature is very important as well when you can. I know we're about to go straight into winter, and that's going to be difficult. But I would still say when you're walking in the snow, take out your mitten and put your hand on the bark, on a tree trunk, and lean against the tree and communicate with the tree. Even if it's 2 minutes until your hands are so cold, you got to put them back on the glove. But try to communicate with nature. This will actually activate your third eye. And then I would say when you're working on your chakras and you feel like your third eye, pineal gland, is blocked, right? Any chakras that's blocked, stay there. Okay, I don't like people who teach people to say, oh yeah, I'm just working on my third eye. That's all I do all day long. Okay, well, the problem is it collapses because there's no foundation. And what is the foundation? The root chakra. The root chakra is the foundation of your house. What is your house? The house are the staircase of your chakras. And so when you do your root chakra, problems, okay, stay there. Then your sacral, then your Herat chakra at the belly button, then your solar plexus, problems, stay there. Heart chakra, problems, stay there. High heart, everything's good. Throat chakra, problems, stay there. Third eye, pineal gland, problems, stay there. Crown chakra, you're receiving activation, ascension light codes, problem, maybe stay there too. And you can do all that in your 5-minute meditation. And before you know it, the clock rings. 5 minutes is done. You're shocked at how quick this was, and you go on with your day. And so these are the things I would suggest yourself, including drinking pure water, including eating right, including all of the things I've said. And then the activation begins. And there's more probably that I'm forgetting, but that seems to be a good beginning, don't you think? So I kind of said it. Any questions on that? Okay. Does that help? Baker's dozen. Thank you, Red Mama Yeti. Does that help? Let me know. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You're good. So that is going to get you on the right track. And try to mitigate, try to avoid meat, okay? Especially pork. Pork is a no. It's a fucking no. You're eating violence on a plate. When your grandparents were eating, there was no violence on the plate for the most part. There really wasn't. I'm just being honest. The way we are killing animals is brutal. It's cortisol, it's fear, it's grief, it's despair, it feels betrayed. They're sentient beings. They're being tortured before they take their last breath. Then you have it you have a steak on your plate and you're excited. Oh my God, it's so good. But you're ingesting trauma. It's violence on a plate. Now, what I tell my meat eaters, to be honest, okay, is to go into real places that are ranches where I'm not gonna gentrify this, where they kill the animal in a more humane way, in a very humane, conscious way, so that the animal doesn't even know. Okay? But these animals, and if you see any videos of people running with their cows, running with their horses, running with their chickens, geese hugging people, chickens hugging human beings, you want to really open your third eye? Don't fucking eat meat. Period. If it has a face, don't eat it. And I grew in France. I grew up in France and Switzerland, where every food, even what they brought to your table, like the fish, had a face. So it's coming from me, who ate brains, boudin noir, which is a blood sausage, head of veal, liver. You get me? And so this is coming from a person who was raised on these kinds of, animal products, okay? And they all had a face. In the open markets, the rabbits were upside down. The chickens still had, we'd bring the chicken home, cut off its head, and burn the quills on the stove. Do you understand? Like, I grew up with that. The feet had to be cut off, the whole thing, right? So my point to you is, if I can become a vegetarian and sometimes be a vegan, I wish I could be more vegan, but right now I'm having a hard time. But for almost 5 years, I was a vegan. And the clarity of my ability, like, I would never give up my third eye for meat. Never. And my Akashic readings give me such joy. When I do them for clients, it gives me such joy that the price of having these extraordinary experiences is me not eating meat. I'm not guilting you out. If you want meat, go get it from a rancher. If you want your chickens, go get it from a farmer. Make sure that they give a fuck about their animals and that they see them as sentient beings, validly, that they should be secured in a very humane, sweet, loving way. I know you think it's crazy, but it's possible. There are ranchers and farmers who are very aware of how to do that. And that's all I got to say on that. Okay? But if you insist on eating meat, like, don't get, sometimes it's best to not buy a huge, pack, if you will, for $10. You're better off getting a small amount of high grade meat that's maybe costing you $15, but maybe that's what you eat. You eat the highest quality of food that gives you the highest level of what you may think you need, which is animals. And I would watch videos on animals and realize that, just like you're horrified that people eat horses, right? Which I am. I'm fucking totally horrified. I always have been. In France, they have what they call chevalerie, which are places where that's all you buy is horse meat. That's all they got. And because it's cheaper than cow meat. And I was horrified at 8 in a culture that supported this. I'm still horrified. But then I evolved into being horrified to eating cow and pig and lamb and a sheep, and I could go on, and fish. I don't eat fish. I can't. So you have to ask yourself, how deep do I want to go into a third eye opening so I can have these extraordinary experiences? And I know there's a woman called Barbara Clawfoot who was interviewed by Regina Meredith, and they were talking about how the Pleiadians were jumping up and down about having steak. And I'm like, yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. I've done hypnotherapies and Akashic readings where no one's eating meat. Animals are not eaten. They're not eaten, excuse me. They have other forms of nutrition, and it's not through the death of another sentient being. Period. So her saying that the Pleiadians, I'm trying to cover all the bases. So her saying in that incredibly erroneous interview where she's like promoting that so that Regina Meredith can feel good about eating meat, right? Because she needed her steaks. I'm like, hell fucking no. That's what I call a corrupted download. Because again, I go back to the great mother, plant medicine, is one of the things the shamans say, do not eat any fucking form of meat 2 weeks before you come here. Or else your journey will be corrupt, fucked up, traumatic, or nothing will happen. And that's the truth. So, and that's about third eye protection. Look up real food, Western price. I will connect you to farm. Super cool. Very good. There. Thank you, Red Mama. Okay. So don't feel guilty. One day you'll get the calling not to, and you won't. And then you're going to look at me and say, well, what about the Native Americans? I'll tell you what about. The Native Americans revered the buffalo and the bear. Revered. There were good shots. They did it in a way where the buffalo was standing there 1 minute and the next it wasn't in its body anymore. They were that good of hunters. And they used every part of the animal and they prayed over the animal. And they thanked Great Spirit. So the meat was not corrupted by cortisol, trauma, and other bullshit. There was no violence on their plate. Does that make sense? Right? So you see the difference, right? I hope you understand. So I'm not judging you, you know. But again, you know, I know my journey from meat eater, and yeah, and the difference is incredible. The difference is insane. So I hope that helps. I really do. But by no means do I judge you at all in this. By no means. Okay? Because sometimes it is the thing that fills your belly, right? A good burger, I know. It fills your belly. It feels good. And it does. It feels good. I'm not going to lie to you. It smells good, feels good. I get it. But try to be more conscious about where you get it, and especially what you give your children. When my son... I'll tell you a funny story. There was a Whole Foods in Pasadena, California. My son was 8, and I was on I was a vegetarian by then. And I used to eat, by the way, to be a vegetarian successfully is to eat beans, black beans, navy beans, these beans. So there's such a thing as bean debt. That's when you start getting weak and you need beans, okay? And beans and rice is a perfect protein. Okay, anyway, we're at the Whole Foods, and he's looking at the meat like it's a Christmas tree. The whole window, like, you know, he's got his hands up against the window looking at steak. And I said, sweetie, we're vegetarians. He goes, Mom, I just want meat. I just want a steak. And the butcher looked at me and said, ma'am, you got problems. He's like, and I capitulated. I started buying high-grade meat, and I tried to give him the best within our meager budget. And what the little packets that I would buy were only for him, you know, because we figured he needed the best because he was growing, his cells were growing, so on and so forth. But now try to find yourself a good farmer, or a connection to a cattle, a small cattle rancher. You know, like they may have 200 herds at most, or maybe even just 50, honestly. And families will go in on one cow, you know, and ask them, how do you do it? How do you take their life? One story that kind of broke my heart in a good way was here we have a person who will take out the rifle, and the sun is rising, whatever, and they will put it behind, you know, and the cow doesn't even know what's happening. It's watching the sun. It's chewing on its cud, and before it knows, it drops to the ground. It's over. You know, to me, that's a merciful. The nervous system is relaxed. The cow is relaxed. The cow basically was breathing and then walked into another reality, right? So to me, that's important. You know, and that's what the Native Americans were doing. That's what the Druids, the hunters of the old European world were doing. They had respect for the animals. They had respect for everything. And they were grateful. They weren't like fox hunters and hunters that really don't give a fuck. And they just think it's a yahoo. Let me go take some a being's life, you know. Did I tell you this story? I'm going to tell you this story again since we have this Native American beautiful woman here. So one of my Akashic, that was weird. One of my Akashic readings was of a woman who was a Native American in the Northeast, and they would nomadically travel to the Canada, and they would go back and forth. And anyway, he was a hunter, warrior, gatherer, whatever, for his people, and he was there with his men, and they spied a bear. They were out bear hunting, and they came across this bear with 2 cubs, and one of his men, that was, one of his colleagues, whatever, compadres, was there and was pulling on the bow and arrow. And rather than say, don't do that, because it would have taken, he took a rock and smashed the man's hand down so that the arrow was not released. And he said, we do not kill the mothers of our land. We do not kill the mothers of our land. And that man who was going to actually take that female bear down was going to, in his mind, he was going to not just take the female bear, but take down the 2 cubs as well for meat. And that was his philosophy. We do not take the mothers of our land. We leave them alone. We will find another bear. And they continued on their journey to find bear meat, but it was not going to be that bear and not those cubs. So that was from a past life as a Native American about, I think it was before there was any Europeans that ever settled here. And from what I saw, so there was still a purity of frequency, a high frequency of consciousness, even though there was this corrupted masculine that was gonna, didn't give a fuck if it was a female bear and her cubs. And there are hunters right now. Right now it's hunting season, right? People keep hunting, which I hate, because most of these people aren't good shots. Most of these people take more than they need, which the Native Americans never did. They never took more than they needed, and you know that. And they understood balance, and they understood that if they were greedy or took more than they needed, that the Great Spirit would be not angry at them, but would be disappointed in them. And that was the last thing they wanted to do, is be out of balance with the system, the ecosystem. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. I want to thank you again for asking me such a great question. I appreciate it. That was great. Hopefully it'll help you out. And thank you all. Follow me on YouTube. Much love. Namaste. Be well.